An estimate by the IMF states that AI can raise the world economic growth up to 0.8% or contribute approximately 15.7 trillion US dollars by 2030 to the global economy. On the flip side, over 30 million jobs may need to be reconsidered over the next 5 years. Across the sessions, you will hear from technologists pushing the boundaries of what it is possible, entrepreneurs and educators rethinking the future of work, and faith leaders reminding us that progress must be grounded in compassion, justice, and dignity. These conversations go beyond tools and systems that ask bigger questions. How do we ensure technology serves humanity? How do we design economies that are fair, inclusive, and ready for the future? And how can values guide innovation towards a more just and sustainable world? This is a space to share insights, challenge assumptions, and collaborate on solutions of change. Welcome to these sessions presented by Catalyst Now.
Super. So as some of you already know, Catalyst Now is the one behind Catalyzing Change Week, and we are a dynamic global movement of social innovators transforming systems and driving sustainable change to advance the SDGs worldwide. So if in case you are not part of Catalyst yet, we strongly encourage you to register and also to register for the session to learn more about us on Friday 7th. For the informative session that my colleague Maddie will be handling. So again, I want to thank all the ecosystem partners and the partners and supporters of Catalyst Now for making this possible as well. And now I would like to hand it over to Roger and Lauren from the Young Social Innovators to introduce a little bit more the session about Echoboard, driving social innovation through young people. So Roger, Lauren, the floor is yours.
Okay, so do you want to swap over? I'll just swap over to the other. Yep, okay, great. Okay, welcome everybody. Thanks very much. I'm just trying to bring up mine. So hopefully this shows okay. Yeah, shows okay. Yep. Yeah. Okay, no worries. Well, hello everybody. My name is Roger Warnock. So I'm CEO of Young Social Innovators. So I've been kind of CEO for about 3 years, but just very briefly give you a wee bit of my background. So I've been kind of involved in social innovation, social enterprise for about 25 years. And a lot of that work has been around young people and trying to better understand how social innovation can be driven by young people. So I've done a lot of work nationally in Ireland, UK, but also internationally in the social innovation platforms, the UNDP and other big global programs like the Work for Progress program, which was funded by La Caixa Foundation. So really excited to be here today. Thanks very much. And Lorraine, you want to do the intro as well?
Yeah, thanks so much, Roger. So hi, everyone, and thanks for coming today. I'm Lorraine Doyle, and I'm the Social Innovation Development Manager at YSI. I have been at YSI for around 9 years now, and my background is in education, so in teaching, and yeah, moved into this space. And at the moment, I'm working on expanding our programs out to more of the non-formal sector in Ireland and giving access to young people of all backgrounds to social innovation education. So yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, thank you. Is where I see if my slides are moving. Are they moving for you? No?
No, at the moment they haven't moved, no.
This could be my crazy laptop again. Let's see. Hang on. Yeah, we've got a frozen slide here.
Okay.
I'm thinking, Maria, I might need you to switch back. Sorry, I'm having issues with my laptop here, Maria.
No worries.
Yeah, there you
Happy
go.
to take it over.
Technology runs well. So
Yeah.
in fact,
Let me see.
sorry about that. There was me with
No
all my nice
worries.
animations.
I know we have people miss out now on that, but
at the end of the world.
Super.
Sorry,
1 second, sorry.
yeah.
Now my computer is
Thanks.
going slow.
So just to mention, actually, while we're getting the screens up, we will be working on Miro later in the day, and Manat is going to just pop a link to our Miro board into the chat. And if you have time, just to click into it, and you might need to log in or create a little account to access that. But just while we're waiting, thank you.
Yeah, so apologies about that. That's just my classic technology skills there. You wouldn't think that I was involved in technology for many years. So look, again, we're keen to hear from you all from. So as Lorraine says there, stick stuff in the chat. Tell us where you're from. Also, if you have questions as we go, I think Sarah and Manat are going to just double check there and maybe throw those in, and we're happy to answer any questions as we go along as well. So yeah, please tell us where you're from. I see a few other YSI people on there, so I know where you're from. So look, lovely, as I say, lovely to meet you. And we're going to talk, really the flow for today is I'm going to hand over to Lorraine in a second. She's going to tell you a bit about us, Young Social Innovators. And then we'll get into kind of giving you an overview of the work that we've been doing around our Echoboard, which has actually gone through several iterations, and how important youth voice is to us. And then we're really keen to get some ideas, some feedback from yourselves, because there's a bigger kind of call to action at the end of this, where we just don't want to be an organisation in Ireland looking at this. We want to collaborate with other organisations, both across the EU and globally as well. So that's kind of the purpose of this morning. But as I say, please look, ask questions as we go, and we're more than happy to have a quick stop and answer those as we go. So, okay, and Simeon, great to meet you from Africa. Great, that's good to see. We've got some global representation there. So, Maria, can we switch to the next slide, please? Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to hand over to Lorraine here. She's going to give you a sort of a whirlwind story of YSI and where we've come from. Okay, Lorraine?
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks so much, Roger. And yeah, do keep adding into the chat and let us know where you're from. So I'll just get my notes up here. So yeah, I'm going to give you a brief history of Young Social Innovators, how it began, what do we do, and why we believe what we do matters as well. So YSI started with a really simple but powerful belief that young people have the creativity, the insight, and the passion to change the world for good. And they needed to be given the opportunities and the tools to do that. So it was founded in 2001 by Rachel Collier and Sister Stanislaus Kennedy. And at the time, they didn't see many real opportunities for young people in Ireland to have a say or to make a difference. So Sister Stan and Rachel wanted to change that. And the idea that they had became Young Social Innovators, or sometimes we could say YSI for short. So that was almost 25 years ago. And since then, we've grown into Ireland's leading provider of social innovation education. And every year we have thousands of young people who take part in our programs. We have a number of different programs across both the formal and non-formal sector in Ireland that are creating youth-led projects that tackle real-world social and environmental challenges. So YSI's vision is that Ireland's young people feel inspired, empowered, and equipped to change the world for good. And what do we do, I suppose? We provide social innovation education that empowers young people from all different backgrounds to take action on the issues that they care about. And we're guided by values like social justice, sustainable development, fairness and inclusion, and equality and respect. So through our programs, young people can discover their talents, they build their confidence, they develop key skills, and they gain a better understanding of how to create and implement innovative solutions addressing the social issues that affect them and their community. So giving them the tools and the time and the space to do that. A key part of YSI is that the projects are truly youth-led. So the issues that are chosen by the young people are chosen by them themselves. And our research has shown that that has led to a deeper engagement with the projects and social issues from the young people, and also a greater impact as well. So our approach then is grounded in social innovation education, which is a hands-on learning way of learning, and it gives students the space and the time and the tools to firstly explore complex social issues, create an innovative response, and then test their ideas and adapt them based on their findings. And then finally to take action and reflect on their impact. So we talk about them going through a pathway of change with YSI. So explore and create, test and adapt, and act and reflect. So that's the journey that they take, and there's different tools and resources and stuff along the way to help them. So it's not just about learning about change, it's about making change as well. So the action part is really, really important. And through the process, young people will build key skills like creativity, problem solving, empathy, teamwork, leadership, organizational skills, and also resilience and an entrepreneurial mindset. So we have research to show that they're the type of skills that young people involved in the programs have gained. But most importantly, they begin to see themselves as active citizens and future leaders, people who can shape the world around them. They have a voice and that they can make a difference. And that's one of the most important aspects for us of what comes out of young people being involved in our programs. So over the years, we've seen some incredible projects, and I just want to give you a little bit of an example of these so you can maybe understand a little bit further what we do. So just to name a few, we've had a project called Forget Me Not. So this was an awareness campaign for Ireland's missing young people, or missing people, sorry. The group of young people, they lobbied the government, which resulted in a National Missing Persons Day being declared in Ireland. And that takes place on the first Wednesday of December annually. And that project, I think it was 2011 that project was happened. So for a number of years now, the Missing Persons Day has been taking place annually in December, and it commemorates those who have gone missing. It recognises the lasting trauma for their family and friends, but it also importantly draws attention to open or unsolved missing persons cases and creates an opportunity to provide information on available support services. So that's one project that we've seen. More recently, we had a project called the Food Fund, and this project aimed to reduce food poverty and food waste by redistributing unused school meals to families in need through an app and local charities. So a group of young people in their schools they had all these school meals going to waste, and they decided that they wanted to do something about it. It was a long process, but has resulted in them creating an app which allows them to upload the details of what food they have available, and local charities can then make use of that food and make sure that it reaches families who need the food. So that was a Food Fund project. Then last year our gold winning team was called Grass Sheets, and they tackled climate change by turning grass clippings into sustainable paper alternatives. So they've done a huge amount of research and testing and prototyping, and they've created lots of different projects out of sustainable paper made from grass clippings. Which I suppose it's something that usually goes to waste, and then it can be repurposed and used as paper. And then the last project I'll just mention is a project called Carry On Caring. So that was a project that supported inclusion in their community. So the group of young people wanted to do something in their area. There was a direct provision centre in their area, and they wanted to engage with them and see how they could help. So they visited the centre, talked to the people there, asked them, what can we do to help? And they found out that the direct provision centre was quite a bit outside the town, and the problem was access into the town, and for them to feel connected to the community and be able to access the town for shops and different things. It wasn't easy, so they sourced a number of bicycles and gave them to the centre, and also sourced repair workshops. So taught the residents in the centre how to repair and upkeep the bicycles themselves, which meant that it will be longer lasting impact there. So that's just a few examples of how young people are transforming their communities through the programs and through creativity, empathy and action through YSI. And we've seen in YSI that when young people are given the space to lead, they don't just participate, they do shape the future, and we need to give them those tools and the space to do this. And I suppose today one of those tools that we're looking at is the Echoboard, and we really do want to develop that and make it a really useful and impactful tool for young people to use. So I'll hand back over to Roger, or if anyone has any questions in the chat, please let me know.
I think we're okay at the minute. I don't see any questions there, Sarah. We're okay. Okay. Well, look, yeah. Thanks, Lorraine, and also great to see people from all over Australia, Toronto, well, Peruvian in Toronto, and various European countries. So great to see you all. So look, I'm going to take over from Lorraine there. As Lorraine says, we are kind of Ireland's largest youth-led social innovation charity. And across kind of an academic year in Ireland, which is September to June, we have about 9 or 10,000 young people. Across a calendar year, because of young people coming onto programs and dropping off, it's about 15,000 young people. So we're working with a fairly large sample of young people across Ireland. We also work all Ireland, so we're both north and south. So part of our footprint is in the UK, Northern Ireland, and then in the Republic of Ireland as well. So just to give you a wee bit of a sort of, I suppose, a starting point from where all of this kind of sentiment dashboard, youth voice piece came from. So I started this journey probably about 8 years ago. So I was on the senior management team at the Young Foundation in London, and I was very much running a lot of programs called the Amplify programs. And one of those specifically was called Amplify Youth, where we were working with young people in Tower Hamlets in London. We were working with young people in Ballymun in Dublin, and then young people in Belfast. And what we were finding was that voice was the key driver for young people. Once you started those conversations, you started curiosity, and that started the co-creation process that led to the social innovation. So that kind of got me thinking at the time is, are we really understanding what young people are saying to us? Are we really getting them to drive social innovation that is impactful in them? So it's kind of gone through several stages. I think it started out, the original name was Voices for Impact, then it became Youth UX. And then when I came into YSI, we called it Youth Pulse. And then through working with our youth panel, who renamed it, it is now called the Echoboard. So that gives you a very short story of where it is. So that's kind of introducing the background. I think most people know that, or probably are well aware that young people, one of the key comments that they say time and time again is that no one listens to them, especially older people. They don't listen to them. Those decision makers, those policy people aren't really listening to them. And sometimes you get a response from those people saying, no, we do. But actually, if you look at maybe a council in a city, Dublin, London, wherever it is, if you ask them, are they listening to young people? They probably will say yes. But if you scratch the surface a bit more, you'll probably find that they surveyed 20 or 30 people to find out what young people's opinions across the whole of a city of London of 12 million people are thinking. So it's not meaningful in our eyes, and we're finding that even through smaller discussions with our youth panel and other groups that we get amazing comments out of them. So Maria, sorry, could you switch to the next slide there for me? Yeah. So to give you an example, at YSI, we're very keen to listen to young people. We listen all the time. As I say, we are driven by young people. All of our programs are youth-led. We don't interfere in them deciding what social innovation they want to solve. As you know, and Lorraine's given you some brilliant examples there of some of the stuff that's coming through from young people. They truly are committed. They're truly passionate about what they do. And we are really pushing against an open door. You know, I think the World Economic Forum about 2 years ago said that 85% of young people, Gen Z and Gen Alpha that's coming through, either want to work in a company that has a purpose, a strong purpose and values, or want to set one up themselves. So we know young people want to be listened to, they want to be civic activists, they want to be the next generation of politicians, but that's not how they feel. And this just gives you some comments, and I think, I don't know if Yule was on the call, but Yule, who looks after our kind of our youth participation, our youth panel, ran a really successful consultation for us last Tuesday night, and this is just some of the comments that came out of that group of young people. You know, adults assume young people don't have enough experience to be in the spaces where decisions are made, but 17-year-olds are as human as 50-year-olds. We carry our own experiences, but we're really invited to share them. So that's a really powerful statement there from young people, that they feel they're not being listened to. They seem there's a lack of process. They're not even in the same rooms to have a discussion. And then the final one as well, that was more a reference to the education system. You know, how do they expect us to have votes or opinions when we're not even really taught about politics? We need real political education. So really, really strong things that are coming through, which are impacting on young people. And that was kind of the basis of, you know, how do we build on the bits of work that I have developed over the last couple of years and the active interest within YSI, how do we drive social innovation? But we had this kind of overarching query in our heads. We have this large number of young people coming through, and if we look at the Activate program, that's our gold standard program, skills program, we're finding that 25 up to 30% of young people are consistently doing projects around mental health, and we all know that's a very real issue in young people, but is really what drives them. We're not so sure, because what we do is we have another survey where we go to 1,000 young people independently outside of YSI, and the overarching concern to them is climate change. 61% of those young people said climate change was the key issue, and actually that mental health wasn't really up there on the top list. So we were kind of trying to figure out, is there a disconnect here? Are young people, do they have the information that their peers are thinking and various bits and pieces that help them decide what the social issue is? And that's really the sort of the problem of what we're trying to solve. Sorry, Maria, I'm going to keep harassing you here to change slides. Okay, so we see it. We see Ireland, we have a problem. And this is also, to me, is a global problem. Having worked in other big social innovation programs and listened to young people in Pakistan, Indonesia, Thailand, countries that I've worked in, you get the same thing. You know, they feel that no one's listening to them. And I genuinely think that is a problem for the future for us. You know, young people are, as I say, going to be the next civic activists, they're going to be the next politicians, the next entrepreneurs. They want change now. You know, young people are increasingly concerned about the future. And, you know, if you look at, you know, those differences in how young people feel about climate change now, and maybe what's happening at a government level, especially in the likes of the UK, for example, where a lot of that sort of going to net zero has been rolled back. And then we don't even want to talk about the States where that's been totally obliterated as well. Yet I would imagine if you speak to the majority of young people in the States today, they are massively concerned about climate change. So we really do need to listen to them. So Maria, can you switch on there? So yeah, so we're very much about this. Our key message to everybody now is that if we don't listen to youth voice, our countries aren't going to have a future. And this is kind of going to be a piece that we're going forward very soon. And it's going to be no youth voice, no Ireland. That could be no youth voice, no France, no youth voice, no Canada. We really need to join up collectively to collaborate together and create a more collective impact for young people, really get to understand how they listen. And with the advent of AI now, we have the power to do that. We have all of these data sets that have been collected right across the globe. So how do we use that and also use the information for the organizations that are working with young people to develop a tool, a platform that is co-designed with young people? The front end of it is totally user-friendly for young people, and it gives them the information they need to decide what social issue, what environmental issue do they want to tackle. So that was kind of what we've done with Echoboard. We've developed a platform that on the surface, you can see what young people right across Ireland are thinking from data sets that we've pulled together at the minute. And the Echoboard, just to be clear, is very much a demo beta version at the minute. We've taken some data and we've started to play around with some other data from other sets like the Social Progress Index and stuff like that. But also at a more micro level, they can see what's going on at their county. So what are other young people in, for example, for those who know Ireland, County Donegal, what are young people in that county concerned about? Because they might say, actually, climate change is the key issue that we're concerned about, but actually at a national level, it's homelessness or whatever. So it gives young people the choice to say, okay, this is what I want to tackle. And we're hoping that then that increases levels of innovation within YSI, because sometimes you get a lot of projects that are just advocacy, and that's great because that is that youth voice piece where they're being able to agitate and have a voice at a higher level. But really for me, my passion is innovation, it's co-design. How do we really get that into the next innovation pipelines, the next social enterprise pipelines, etc.? Okay, so Maria, please, if you could move on. Okay, so we're just going to ask very quickly a vote. We've sort of put our pitch out there that we are firm believers that youth voice is massively important for Ireland. But I'm just interested, you know, do you think it is important in your country and in your work? Just want to see if there's that we are definitely on the right track. All right, okay. Okay, I think we're pretty unanimous there now. Okay, so that's good to see. So. Okay, thanks, Maria, for that. So yeah, so you can see, yeah, look, I think we're preaching to the converted, as they say, so that's great to see. Okay, so we'll just move on there. That's okay. Okay, so taking a step back then about what we've done. Sorry, I just need to close this poll, can't see anything. So I'll give you a wee bit of the process of how we have kind of moved forward with the Echoboard or our sentiment dashboard within YSI. So as I've already highlighted, our challenge to us was how do we help young people have a voice? How do we help them have a voice that then ultimately leads into further social innovation, that they're making real change, both within their personal lives, within their communities, and within society, and hopefully further afield. You know, again, Lorraine, give you an example there of Grass Sheets, an amazing social enterprise. They went off to represent Ireland at the Sage Entrepreneurship Awards in Georgia about 6 weeks ago, and they came second. You know, and that's competing against teams from Japan, from other European countries, from America, Canada, etc. So it just shows you some of the, you know, just the innovation that's out there. Young people, I think, speaking as a very old guy now, you know, you get the creativity beaten out of you as you grow older. So we really need to tap into that creativity and innovation now when young people are at 15, 16, and that's the time to get them. So we kind of took these kind of five, oh, the polls come up again, kind of things that we looked at. Firstly, we knew, or we know that we have kind of touch points or engagements with around 15,000 young people a year. And through a number of surveys, through where young people log on and update their projects and stuff, we have a mass of data that we could look at. You know, what sustainable development goals are they attaching to their projects? You know, how are they feeling? What's their mood? What's the social issue that they feel is impacting on them most? So we started to study that, and we started to say, okay, what evidence do we have here that young people, we could pull this together so young people could use it more effectively. Also, we have a very active youth panel. As I said, Yule, who looks after that with and some of the rest of the team, Courtney and some of the rest of the team. You know, how do we harness the power of that youth panel? You know, as I just said, young people are massively creative. They're also massively passionate about and committed to social change and solving some of these issues. So we needed to tap into that. But most importantly, tell us what this looks like. There's no point us designing a platform and going, here you go. So the process we took was actually getting together the team, our developers, Reach in the States, and Paul Ellingstad, another very seasoned professional within social innovation, to start piecing something together and actually initially thinking outside the box. So let's not look at other listening platforms or whatever that might actually be going on out there with young people. Let's look at what's going on in the world. What are the apps? What are the things that young people are using every day and looking at? And actually what we fell upon was the Garmin app. Young people train. We thought, okay, look at the style of that and what's it look like. And that was kind of the starting point. So we kind of cobbled something together. And then we took it to the young people through co-design sessions to say, tell us what you think, what's good, what's crap, basically. That was the bottom line. And they've been amazing at doing that. And I'll show you the Echoboard in a second. Also, as I say, there's lots and lots of other data sets out there. So we haven't really touched on that yet. We're looking at that and how do we bring lots of these massive data sets across Europe, across the world. You know, Youth Progress Index is just one. If you go onto those platforms, they're totally no use to young people because they're just way too high level and complicated. But how can we harness the data that's in there and bring it back onto our dashboard? And with AI, that is now possible. So one of the companies we're working with at the minute is Microsoft, who have been helping us look at that to say, okay, well, if you use Microsoft Fabric, you can then use Microsoft Copilot to start cleaning that up and bringing that back out. And then the front end design piece, we will work with young people to say, okay, well, what does that need to look like on the front end? Get government on board. We have very strong relationships with the Irish government. They are a major funder of ours, massively interested in this because, again, they hold a lot of data that they don't use. It's very disjointed and stuff like that. So they've been asking us, in particular, Department of Social Protection in Ireland, have been asking us to say, look, show us how this works. Give us some ideas of what we're doing. And we said, okay, yeah, let's do it. And I suppose the final thing was build something, and pardon my French, get shit done, basically. So that's what we've done. So we started re-looking at all of this probably about 18 months ago. And the next slide, sorry, Maria, will show you kind of where we started. No money, bootstrapped it, said, okay, we've no money, we have lots of data, what are we going to do? So we initially used Google Looker. And this is what we kind of started prototyping in the beginning. You know, okay, can we show what's coming out of our data? And as you can see here, we were immediately able to build a very crude platform showing what the mood of young people are, what their stress levels are. We at the initial bit, we looked at different sort of data that we have. You know, what are success indicators for young people? As you can see there, loving partner, having kids, financially secure. But also then, more importantly, we've started looking at the more social innovation pieces. What are the social issues, etc., to look at? So that just gives you an example of where we started. On that, I think we took 754 responses from young people. So you can see there, which is quite disturbing, that 298 were anxious, 157 were depressed. That's a pretty sad state of affairs when you look at it, when only 29 people said they were happy. So that started getting us to think, that is showing us the importance of developing something. So sorry, Maria, can you shift on there? Sorry. As I've already said, our secret weapon in this whole process has been our youth panel. And over the sort of spring, summer months, we brought them into play massively in the design of this new platform. Thankfully, we had, as I say, the help of Paul Ellingstad. So Paul Ellingstad is a massive wealth of knowledge in social innovation. At one stage was involved at HP, heading up all of the social innovation initiatives there. So at a global level, knows what's going on and was massively valuable in this. But also we brought in Learnovate, which is part of Trinity College Dublin, to come in and help facilitate some of those co-design sessions. And they're very specialist in looking at ed tech and various things like that. So we've managed to get quite a lot of support in how to build this out. But as I say, the challenge for us was questioning our own assumptions. That sort of thing about, oh, what do young people want? Actually, let's go and ask them. And we did. So we didn't, if we're going to be about youth voice, we need to listen to young people ourselves. And that was the foundation stone. So ultimately, that's kind of where we've been. And then, Maria, sorry, the next slide will actually start to show you some of the live things. So I see there Sarah's actually put in the chat the link to the live board. Just so if you want to click on that and dig around it now, feel free, and you can listen away to me as I blurb away in the background here. So some of the things that we wanted to do, and some of the comments that came out from young people, we wanted to have at the top like a headline sort of stat that would catch young people. As I say, we want to build a skin around this now. So we're working, and I'll talk about that in a bit, a European partner who's done a lot of work on that, and we're looking at really building this out now. So initially there was a very negative stat we had there, so we dug around to get a positive stat. Again, young people said that to us. Why would we want to go onto a platform and immediately say a negative statistic? So we put this in that 68% believe they can change society. And then in focus, you can see the next level is starting to use some of the data that is contained within YSI. So you can see there at a national level that actually climate change is still the big issue. Again, it goes back to that question when we look at one of our big programs, it's ultimately always going into the sort of well-being and mental health area, so that you can see where we were start to questioning, well, what do young people really want? And then the one thing that we really keep track of is that piece around the mood of young people. And as you can see from this is more up-to-date data from the last one, is that still young people are overwhelmingly anxious and depressed. So it just starts to bring things to life for you. As I say, this is pitched at a national level. Maria, sorry, if you go to the next slide. However, if you go onto the site, you can actually filter it. To the right-hand side, you'll see some a wee filter icon, and we can actually break that down into a county level. So if a young person comes onto the platform and they're more concerned about, I want to tackle a social issue or environmental issue in my county, then they can find out what that is. Now, if you're on the site live, you'll find that some of these are empty at the minute. So we've just relaunched into Northern Ireland, the 6 counties there. So for example, if you go into Antrim or Armagh, you'll probably find that there's nothing in there. But as we update and build data, that will come to life over the next number of months and years as we build out a big European peace-funded program that we're delivering to young people in the sort of more informal sector. Okay, sorry, Maria, if you could on the next one there. Yeah, so I'm just scrolling down here. As I say, you may be on the live site, you may be all got here. You'll also find wee arrows in each of these panels. That flips around and tells you where the data is coming from. And it's just something that we wanted to make clear, that when people come onto the platform, or young people, that actually they're seeing a snapshot, but actually in some of these, there's links that you can go through and see a wider piece, because we're keen that young people dig around and find more information for themselves as well. You can see here that we're on this platform. We've taken data from 4,500 young people who have engaged in social innovations. That's really our Activate program, where that data's come from. And then there's some distance travel surveys in there as well. So we ask every young person who comes onto a program to do a distance travel survey. Not all of them complete the second one, but we're working on that at the moment. Also, we have a thing in there where we ask young people around their superpowers. That's actually built on a Harvard model. So several years ago, and her name has gone out of my head, there was a professor at Harvard who said there was three types of people you need to drive social innovation and build a movement. So those three types of people are the agitator, the person who goes out and shouts about the issue, goes and annoys people and shouts at people. The second one was the orchestrator, which is basically the project manager. And then there's the innovator, the one who comes up with a crazy idea to solve the social or environmental issue. And if you don't have one of those in the sequence of your team, you'll most likely not be able to solve that issue or drive that social innovation forward. However, a few years ago, before I came to YSI, we kind of thought, okay, hang on, things are changing. Young people are different. So we need to build some things in there. So I built a fourth one in initially, which was called the influencer, because young people are more savvy on social media and stuff like that. And that's a key way of influencing. You don't need to go and shout at people necessarily anymore. And then what we found was that not all young people want to be kind of in one of those kind of driving positions. A lot of young people actually, the majority of young people actually just want to support. They would just want to be involved in the project and be piece of the action effectively. So we built in a supporter. So we track that as well, and we're doing a lot more work around the superpowers. In fact, we're trying to build that out to 8 at the minute. And then, so what we find is also, interestingly enough, through another partner that we work with, is that if you look at friendship group within young people, 5 or 6 friends, and we were to do this to find out what their superpower is, you'll probably find they're all the same superpower. And that's a key challenge then to driving a social innovation forward, and explain some of the ideas maybe earlier on I spoke about where innovation is not driven. So it's something we're working on. And then we have a number of other wee live questionnaires and stuff on the platform as well, just to trap extra information. Maria, sorry. Oop, we lost it.
Sorry, I clicked
Okay.
another link.
If anyone's any questions,
Let
please
me
shout
help.
out. We're quite happy to answer any questions if anyone has any. So might not be able to answer it, but I'll try.
There is one question there, Roger, about collaboration with Young Scientists, possibly. Young Scientists Global. If we would be from
Yeah, no,
Simon.
the whole part of this today is to actually highlight the work we're doing. We are very keen to collaborate. We're very keen to build this out, and collaborate with everybody. So, at the end of this slide deck, there's both my details and Lorraine's details. So please, send us an email, get in touch. We're more than happy to chat. All right, so just to wrap up the dashboard then, we do ask other things, are young people interested in politics? Would they want to become a social innovator? Increasingly in Ireland, there's a lot of emphasis or a lot of interest on social entrepreneurship. In fact, we've been tasked by the Irish government to raise awareness of social enterprise in young people. And then at the bottom here, we have different tabs. So again, the youth panel, and we had a group of young interns, global interns from the States, Australia, various places over the summertime, built out a load of resources. As I say, we didn't have any extra funds to build out the skin around this or the resources. So they used Notion, which was completely free, and built a lot of what they felt the resources they would need to continue their social innovation journey. And we're also using Mighty Networks, or planning to build out a wider community of young people where we can moderate conversations, but also connect young people where, across Ireland, across Europe, across global, whatever. So there's a lot of additional work here we want to do. And I think actually the next slide, Maria, I think just shows you is the Echoboard. So young people built this out themselves. Manat, who's on the call, she was instrumental in working with the young people and building all of this out and the resources. So I've just seen a question there from Asha. I'm curious about the top 5 issues and top 5 SDG 13. I don't know, Lorraine, are you better placed to answer that? Is there, because that's coming directly out of Activate, is there, it's just
Yeah, I definitely think there is. I mean, we have experience of, we train teachers to be YSI guides who then do the program with their students, but we also have local leaders who go into schools, and there's definitely, almost it feels like it's too big, global climate change sometimes. So I think that could, it's an interesting take, and the fact, like you said, it's there as one of the top issues, but then isn't in the SDGs. That could be the reason for that, that they, you know, feel like it's almost overwhelming. So yeah, I think that is an interesting take.
And I think also, as we say, we're youth led, so we let the young people themselves decide what SDG they feel they're most relating their project to or their idea to. So sometimes that's actually probably a query we need to follow up on. Are they being accurate enough to what the SDG they attach to? Stephen, why is everyone young people so nihilistic about the future? I think there's a general sense of fear in young people. You know, we live in a very fragmented world, and I think that is now coming through when you ask young people about how they feel, their mood. You know, we know that young people are genuinely really concerned about climate change. You know, if you look at other trends, like I'm talking maybe slightly older generation, young people getting into their 20s. You know, they're now talking about not having families, not getting married, these sorts of things, because they're not sure if there's going to be a world for their children if they have children. So I think, you know, there's definitely something there that needs to be changed. And I think youth voice is part of that. We need to be giving young people a better voice that they can change that narrative and make change. So,
Yeah.
Mariana, we're just about to touch on that. So we'll talk about Erasmus in a second. So, sorry, Maria, can you switch on there to the next one? Yeah, so very quickly, as I said, we just obviously recognize that we have a very strong relationship with Irish government, and we're very, very pleased that they support us. It's great to have their support, and we are working very closely with a number of Irish government departments around this. And as I say, we are the only youth organisation that is specifically named in the Irish programme for government under the youth sector, specifically about how the Irish government will support us to make social innovation more accessible for young people, but also looking around that voices piece as well. So we take that very, very seriously, and that they have faith, they have confidence in us to deliver that, and that's a big piece of this work is around the Echoboard. Alrighty, Maria, please. So yeah, so in answer to that question around Erasmus, the short answer is yes. So ALC are a very respected organisation in Bilbao in the Basque Country in Spain, and we are working very closely with them. Very, very fortunate to work with them for many years. Gorka, who runs the organisation, we both worked together at the Young Foundation, and then I worked with him through ALC on the UNDP social innovation platform. So they have a tool called the K tool, which is an amazing piece of kit, online resource around deep listening, around understanding meta narratives. Now it's way too advanced, probably for young people, and part of the Erasmus Small Partnerships Fund that we have with them is to consider how we develop a blueprint or a framework of what a future listening platform or a voices platform for young people will look like. So the output of that is I'm in the thick of it with Lorraine and a few of the rest of the team. What we're intending to do by February time is that we're going to have this blueprint developed, also look wider than just ALC and ourselves to see what other partners we could team up with for a larger Erasmus program next year under the cooperation funds. So I think we've till March to get that. And a big piece of this work is unfortunately myself writing a green paper, which I will present in Brussels at the end of February to sort of put that process in place. But again, that was kind of the purpose of doing this today, is to highlight, look, this is what we're doing. We're working with ALC. We're really keen to look at collaboration, not just in a European perspective, but globally as well, because over the years I've had the opportunity to work with great organizations in Africa and Uganda, places like that. So India, I want to bring those countries into the conversation as well, because I think you'll find lots of common themes here around young people and how we can support them and being that voice and that decision-making piece. Asha, no, don't know about the London Plan Institute in Paris. So that's thank you for that. Alrighty, so I'm gonna go on to the next slide, Maria. Okay, well, look, we were going to break into breakout rooms, so I think we're quite a small number here. So I think I'm going to pass back to Lorraine, and we're just going to look. We have a couple of questions that we just wanted to pull out onto a Miro board, get your feedback on that. again, we're keen to learn. It's not just about us telling you about what we're doing. We're keen to learn from you as well. So we're quite hoping to open the mics and either throw out ideas, or if you can get access to the Miro board, I think Manat's going to put the link on there. You can put post-its up there as well. So I'm going to talk speaking. Stop talking
Stop.
and pass back across to Lorraine. So Lorraine,
Am I on mute? I am.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thanks so much, Roger. So yeah, as Roger said, we were going to pop into breakout rooms, but we're going to stay in the main room. And we've got 4 questions that we'd love. You'll see them on the screen there now. So we're going to go down through each of them and spend some time considering each. We don't have that long, but we'd love to just do some brainstorming. We really appreciate all the comments that have came in so far on the chat. And please do share. I suppose what we really want is to be able to shape this Echoboard with people and the future of the Echoboard and how it can best be useful for not just in Ireland, across globally and in the EU. So we'll start with the first question. There should be a link to the Miro board. So what I'll do is I'll just read out the first question, and if you want to take some time just to think about it and pop up, there is post-it notes on the Miro board that you can just take one and put your response to the question there. But also, please feel free to unmute yourself and let us know what you're thinking around that, or pop a message in the chat either. So the first question that we want to look at is how can, sorry,
Lorraine, I was going to say, do you want to come off the slide deck and go into the Miro board, Maria? Is that possible, or so we can bring?
Oh yeah, that would be great actually.
Sorry.
So we can see it live. People coming in. Brilliant.
And I know sometimes people have problems getting onto the Miro board, so if alternative is stick stuff in the chat and I can stick stuff on the Miro board. So.
Brilliant. Thanks, Roger. Great. Thanks. Thanks, Maria. So we're going to look at the first question, which is with the red post-its there. And the question is, how can Echoboard better empower young people to shape and share their social innovation journey, both locally and across Europe as well? So I suppose we just want to think about how digital tools like the Echoboard can amplify youth voices, how they can showcase cross-border and transnational projects, and build confidence in young changemakers so that they feel there's a space for them to have a voice and that they can hear other young people's voices as well. So yeah, what do you think might be a great digital companion like the Echoboard? What would help young people to tell their story and influence change? What would it look like? As Roger mentioned earlier, it's very much in a version, a demo version or a beta version at the moment. So please feel free to give whatever ideas, you have around that and what would be most useful. To help young people feel heard and confident, and what features might make it feel a bit more personal, powerful for young people. And I'll just stop talking for a minute, let you think about that and respond.
Yeah, I'm just looking at some of those, Lorraine. So some of them great.
Yeah.
Comment there about could we include some people have said about their experiences. One of the things we're looking at exploring with ALC is actually taking sound bites for young people and using that to synthesize what young people are, what their lived experiences as well. So some of those are on our agenda, but certainly that's a great comment there. Yeah. Trying to read these as I go. Oh.
I like the idea of with the add-on of what went well or what can be improved, that we could, sharing the learning. And I suppose that pathway that I talked about in YSI about testing and adapting, and it's okay if things don't go exactly right the first time, and it's normal that they won't, and that they could share that learning among each other would be really nice.
So if anyone, you're more than happy to shout out as well if anyone is having any issues. So, yeah, I think peer mentoring is a really useful thing as well. Something that definitely we think be very useful. I think probably will become increasingly important, some way of chatting to, even in a local context, chatting to other young people in your local community here, maybe trying to do stuff as well.
Yeah, I feel sorry if you don't mind me chipping in,
Sure.
because I wrote that one. I just feel like and I'm not currently working directly with young people, but I've worked at universities in the UK. I've worked with Volunteer Ireland as well. And what I notice through the Erasmus Plus programs as well is that it gets to a certain point that no matter what you say, how many platforms you give young people to amplify their voice, because I always believe that the voice is already there. I think it's for us to be able to like really support them in applying it and making that change, because there's no point in having people sitting at the table and then, that's it. The idea stays at the table, right? Is what we do after getting out of that meeting room. But what I notice is that it gets to a point where young people will listen to their peers a lot more. And if someone who's gone through an experience, a young person who's developed a project or something like that, can easily provide the information to someone else and just be like, it's gonna go bad, but
Yeah.
it's also gonna go well. So like stick with it, So I feel like it's really important to potentially provide that opportunity for young people to share their knowledge, because I think that in itself is a tool to create a space for them to feel empowered, really, because they know that their opinion is valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know it's something that's really top of our agendas. And you're right there. There's a lot of other, yeah, a lot of people looking at Youth Voice, but we're very conscious of not just being another platform. We really want to open it up through sessions like this, that we want to say, look, we want to collectively work together in this. We don't want to just say, oh, we'll do this, and then you have to come and listen to us. So that's, the purpose of all of this feedback. So I think you're very right. I think the more we come together to develop something that young people can do around peer mentoring, around their own voice. So one of the examples that one of the things we were looking at was, could we do sound bites on WhatsApp, for example? So pose a question, get young people to do it, and then take all of that off and then synthesize that and say, okay, what's the underlying theme there? Because I did an experiment a few years ago with young people in Northern Ireland where the key social issue was drugs. But actually, that's not the issue to solve. The issue to solve is the drug dealers. And in Northern Ireland, in a post-conflict country, is paramilitaries. So the social innovation needs to be around how do you tackle that as opposed to the drugs, because if you get rid of the people selling the drugs, you get rid of the drugs, technically. So it's about getting into those meta narratives, and that's why we're working very closely with ALC, because that's a piece that they are working very closely on. So I think if younger people can really get a deeper understanding across several conversations, that will really drive the social innovation piece for them. So
Do you mind if I ask a question?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I was just having a look on your website, and the amount of training opportunities that you have, and it's so clear, it's so visible where things are going. And I was wondering, do you ever feel like you have all of these training opportunities and accelerator programs and sprint programs and all of that? Do you feel like there is a gap between you delivering training and then action taking place? And just as an example, I've delivered training before and facilitated opportunities, and I feel like when you're in the room and the ideas are flowing and everyone is feeling so confident and oh my God, yeah, this is absolutely what I needed, and then they get out of that environment which was so safe.
Yeah.
And that's one of the gaps that I feel the most is how do we bridge that gap where they feel like they can go and do things basically.
Yeah, I think we have that's definitely something that has happened for us as well. I suppose one of the things that we have now is we do have a team of regional leaders who can support them. So like once the train, like you said, the initial training happens or that workshop happens with the young people, and you know everyone feels energized and everyone feels like they're ready to go. It is important, I think, to have that follow-up support and touch points, and where you know it might just be a little bit of a push in a certain direction, or giving them the tools or the resource that they might need to continue it on. And we do have what's also helped is, so we have our Activate program that young people come through in. Mostly it's transition year students in Ireland, which would be a kind of a fourth year in Ireland. And so they're like 15 to 16. And then we found some of the students would be really passionate about their project, but once the year is over, and that's sometimes it's hard to carry it on. So we developed an Elevate program, again, hoping to help that need of, you know, they might not be in an official kind of, you know, working on it in school anymore, but they need that just touch point to be able to, you know, access different skills and different resources. So definitely, I think it is something that is an issue, or we're aware of, and we have tried to kind of put in place those few pieces. I don't know, Roger, if you have anything else to add there.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about the next step. What you tend to find, Mariana, in that we very much are the start of a social innovation journey for young people, and they're inspired to make their change. But what tends to happen is, certainly within that Activate program that Lorraine's talking about, is the young people go into their final exams the year after, so that becomes the be all and end all. And actually, if you look at wider social innovation in Ireland, is young people, it kind of gets embedded in there somewhere that that's part of their purpose, but they'll probably go off to college, get a degree, get a diploma, whatever it is, in accountancy, medicine, whatever it is. And you tend to find that they come back out the other end around 27, 28 to become social entrepreneurs. And that's verified, you know, speaking to Rethink in Ireland and some of the big social innovation funds that fund all of that. So I think, again, there's a piece of work to do there about how you keep that momentum going. So we only go so far, and we're increasingly going up in ages as well. So we're now working in the Ignite Community Program with the up to age 25. In fact, in some cases, slightly older than that. So I think, yeah, we need to fill the middle ground. I don't know if that necessarily answers what you're asking, but I think
No,
there's a big
it does. And I was actually just, it's interesting that you mentioned sorry, I don't mean to be like monopolizing the conversation. Let's just tell me to shut up if it's, you know, I'm just very curious about what you do, basically. And you mentioned the older age range. I think I was also going to ask, so obviously you mentioned that you're working in Bilbao. You have like you're partnering up. Do you partner up or collaborate with any universities in Ireland, for example, volunteering departments or social impact departments? Because at least in the UK, a lot of universities have volunteering departments that exactly support students. And it might be projects related with their course, or it might just be outside of their course. And like from my understanding is a lot of those volunteering departments in the UK, I don't know so much about Ireland, they're actually starting to shift the not just the names, but the focus basically to social innovation and social impact. And I was wondering if you have any collaborations with universities.
Not formally, no. We've done some loose relationships. We do now, from a research perspective. We've worked very closely with UCD in Dublin. We have a very strong relationship with Trinity as well. But so we did a massive piece of research around the benefits, the health and well-being benefits of taking part in social innovation programs with UCD a couple of years ago. But it's something that we've explored with universities, but we haven't really pushed that forward so much. So, for example, I sit as the chair of Queen's University in Belfast on their Students' Union board, and it's something we've been exploring, but they're very much enterprise focused. And we're trying to change that to say, well, hang on, look at the social innovation, the social enterprise element, because you'll probably find that, again, those young people are massively interested in that. But also, if they're entrepreneurial, they're probably looking at some new app that's going to try and flip it for 5 million in 2 years' time or something like that. So there's challenge there as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Big machines, university, so it always takes a little bit of time, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Great. Thank you so much, Marianne. And so I'm actually going to pop into the next question, and I see people have already started answering it, which is great. But the second question that we'd love to hear people's responses and thoughts on is around inclusion and accessibility on the Echoboard app. So what would make Echoboard an inclusive and accessible space for all young people, regardless of language, background, and digital skills, or any other kind of accessibility reason? But would anyone want to unmute and talk about what they've added there, or does anyone have any thoughts on that?
Just to add on the language thing, with working with obviously ALC in the Basque Country, well, probably not Basque, but certainly Spanish, we'll be looking at doing some translation stuff around the Echoboard as it is at the minute on that. So also on the UI stuff and the UX stuff, yeah, very, very clear that we need to keep that simple. That's why we work, we work with young people, because they need to steer us in the design, the UX and UI parts of that. And actually, if you are around Ireland in January, you're more than welcome to join us. We're having a session with Microsoft where their UI and UX guys are going to actually do a session with our youth panel, and hopefully online with ALC in Bilbao. So they've drafted in students from Mondragon University to be part of that process as well. So but if anyone is genuinely interested, be part of that, and if we can do it online, we're more than happy to bring in a wider cohort of young people to be part of that. So
Good. I see the accessibility features like read aloud, high contrast. They're all things that I'm sure that we will look at with the Echoboard too. And I suppose taking in the new accessibility act that's came in, we've doing a lot of training around that as well to make sure that all our resources, including the Echoboard, will be as accessible as possible.
I see Sarah smiling there because she was all over that with the Echoboard.
Oh, well, Sarah, do you want to say something there?
Absolutely not, but we're compatible. It's happening. Yeah.
It's under control.
Yeah, like it was Reach mostly that was working on that, but we definitely have implemented that, and yeah, across the website and the Echoboard as well.
And Maria, thanks for the link to the Possibilists. Yeah, we're in touch with them. We're part of that as well. So yeah. Yeah, great answers. Thanks very much for everybody for doing the feedback.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time. I might just read out question 3 then, and we can keep going. Please keep if you keep adding to the others as well, if you would like to, and we can come back to them at the end to have kind of an overview. But so question 3 there is, how could the Echoboard foster cross-community, cross-border, and transnational collaboration between young innovators, educators, policymakers, and partners? So any ideas around that?
Certainly
I suppose what kind of collaboration features would help the young people connect across countries, or we've taught things like project pairing and digital twinning, or like we talked about earlier, the peer learning. But yeah, if there's anything that comes to mind around that, and I'll have a look at the board as well. Or Roger, if you see anything, or Sarah or Manit.
Yeah, I'm thinking that certainly the piece that we are keen is to build out a community in this, that we have, whether it's even something simple like open Google folders where people can put in information and work on that, and then we're more than happy going forward to set up sort of online sessions to discuss this further and see how things develop. So yeah, that bit there around fostering collaboration, very keen to do something around that. If open to suggestions how that might look like. Various things like that. More than happy to set up a YSI office in another country. So
Yes.
Yeah, and I think
there is also a note that definitely have to fill in the data from other countries to be able to compare and relate between community groups, and I think that's the purpose of Echoboard, that we want to open that further in the future. But Ireland is our base for now to see how that works.
Yeah, we are establishing, because as I say, we have a footprint in the UK as well, so that is something that we are actively from my end of the organization setting up a sort of YSI UK charity as well. So that's going to open up the wider UK for us as well. So so obviously we're looking at all of the data sets within the UK. Government is a rich source of data as well through statistics offices and stuff like that. So, but again, yeah, you know, I suppose our call to action really is what other data is out there that we could use and work with people on. So.
I see in the accessibility, there was a note about not everyone having a laptop or PC. And is it compatible with a smaller device, Roger or Sarah? Is it mobile compatible?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is. So
Yeah.
we do have it.
Yeah. Again, very conscious when we were going through those kind of assumptions that young people don't go onto laptops anymore, they use their phones. So we built it as a website, but mobile friendly. But going into the future, we probably would be looking to switch it right across to a mobile app. So.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'll just read out question 4 then as well, and if and then we can kind of have a look back at all of them. But question 4 then that we'd love to hear your responses are: what features would help young people, educators, youth workers, and facilitators see and celebrate the real world impact of their innovation projects? So that idea of that impact. So what, I suppose, first of all, what would you see as impact? Like, what does impact mean to you? Is it social, environmental, personal, or community level? Like, what would be meaningful impact, and how could Echoboard then show that impact clearly? If you had any ideas around that. We're thinking around additional features or digital add-ons that would make it maybe more visible or shareable across Europe.
Yeah, I think a lot of those comments are really great, and I think some of those we've already started to think about. You know, as I said earlier on, the storytelling piece around getting sound bites from young people, because we can analyze that as opposed to just hard data as well. So yes, the piece around showing past projects, really something that we want to put in there as well. We have a stack of resources and case studies about what young people have done, and we're very keen to get that out there as well. So. Yeah, Asha, great comment on the comments there. So yeah, you're right. Cross-pollination of ideas across borders is really important. I think, as I said earlier on, the more voices of young people we can get from transnational cross-border stuff, I think we will find that there's lots of similar themes there that young people can work on, but also, yeah, I think that's where you get that rich sense of innovation as well, especially across different countries. You know, some countries very much into sort of frugal innovation. They don't have a lot to be able to solve things, and then other countries where there's more resources. So, and looking at how you can pass those across. So. Okay.
I keep trying to move the Miro board on our Zoom screen, and then I have to go, oh no, I have to go into the to see more. I see on the first one there was a comment about making mental health supports more accessible for young people so they feel heard, safe, and empowered. So yeah, I suppose we could. I'm not sure if we've considered that, Roger, with regards like maybe sharing support and resources as well on the Echoboard.
Yeah, very, very, very,
Yeah.
yeah, great comment. So. I think the other I suppose thing I'd be interested in learning is, you know, we've been around for quite a long time, but actually Erasmus is something that we haven't really got stuck into until more recently. I have in previous lives and previous organizations, but I think that there's a big opportunity there to do more across there. So again, I suppose one of my requests to people on the call is if you have any advice or thoughts on that, keen to hear it. So. Okay. That's great. I got
Yeah.
good to go, Lorraine. I think that's.
Yeah, I think so. Thank you so much for all the response. I think we've covered a lot of the comments, but yeah, does anyone want to add anything further? Just unmute and give if they have any question or comment that we didn't. If you put a comment up that we've missed or anything.
Sorry, it's me again.
That's okay.
Me again. No, I was just going to say regarding the Erasmus Plus kind of opportunities there. I've only just signed up as an organization as part of Erasmus Plus, but I've been working with a variety of youth centers, youth organizations on non-formal education programs for like since 2019, really. And one of the things that we actually did recently was one of the key action to projects was we created a board game for climate change. And I think one of the teams in Finland actually took it to Ireland, I think, to actually have feedback from young people. But basically, it was 5 organizations. So we're talking Croatia, Portugal, Spain, Finland, Belgium, and randomly me, who at the time was living in the UK and got adopted by the Croatian organization. But one of the things that kind of just in terms of this, collaboration, and it just gave us such a good opportunity to, because it was co-created, like we came up with an idea, but we took it to a lot of different groups of young people across a lot of the countries. And what was amazing to see was exactly like these interactions and how they became more and more comfortable addressing not just like the confidence like skyrocketed, but also their awareness that they could have an impact and where their own gaps were. So I feel, I mean, I don't feel like I'm very experienced in Erasmus Plus, but what I've seen has been like one of the best tools in terms of collaboration between organizations and countries. And I definitely recommend that if you have the capacity. I wouldn't say even just for the funding, because I think funding is one side of things. I think if you have the capacity within the organization to develop that area and have someone really looking for those collaborations, I would say it's yeah, one of the best investments you might be able to have. That's it.
Great. Thanks very much. Yeah, I think it's something we're definitely exploring at the moment. So, alrighty. Okay, shall we?
Yeah, Maria, would you mind resharing the PowerPoint, or do we need the PowerPoint again, Roger?
Yeah, we'll stick it on because our details
Yeah.
are at the end of it. So I
Oh
suppose
yes, yeah.
people know how to get in touch with us. So. Okay, well, look, thanks everybody. That's fantastic. Some great comments, some great feedback there. We certainly go away and distill it down and have a good head scratch, as they say at my end. So figure it out. So I suppose, look, I know some people have asked questions. I suppose this is kind of a last opportunity, really, to if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them now or forever hold your peace. But also, we're happy if I know sometimes you go away and you go, oh, I wish I'd asked that question or whatever. Look, drop us an email or get in touch. We'll be more than happy to come back to you. So, is there any just last questions? Or we just think we're good? Okay. So look, our call to action is, as we've talked about the whole time, the purpose of us coming onto the call today was to kind of give you I suppose, quite a short overview of what we've been trying to do, what we want to do, setting a kind of our aspiration, which is to create this kind of global platform that everybody joins in on, and we can really understand what voice is, and then that leads to amazing social innovations and ideas going forward. So please, if you are genuinely interested, or if you know people who are interested, please let them get in touch, because we genuinely want to find new innovative partners who we can work with to build this out. And I think Catalyst Now is a fantastic place to do that. With so many members, so many passionate people, I think it's great to be part of the community. I think Maria, just the last slide there, and just so as I say, look, there's our details, or just our emails. More than happy to chat at any time. Please get in touch. As I say, either myself or Lorraine will come straight back to you. We're both working away in the background. More so me at the minute than on this blueprint and stuff. So Lorraine and I will be under pressure in February time to stand up, hopefully in Brussels, in front of MEPs and push all of this forward. So haven't quite worked that out. Haven't even quite worked out where that's going to be at the minute. So I'm going to have to go and annoy a few Irish government people to give me some ideas. Okay, so final words. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
It's been great. Hopefully you've understood what we're trying to do, and also my Irish accent, which is a Northern Irish accent, and I tend to talk very quickly. So I'll tell you a funny story. Actually, I did a presentation in Barcelona a few years ago, and Gorka, who is the guy who works at ALC, started laughing at me and realized that actually the translator couldn't keep up with me, and I had to stop translating, so I was told to slow down. So I apologize. I should have probably said that at the start. So look, thank you very much on my behalf, Lorraine. I don't know if you have anything to say there. Or...
Yeah, no, just thanks as well. Thank you so much for taking the time to come and to share your thoughts with us. We really, really appreciate it. We'll feed back into the Echoboard as well. So yeah, thank you, and get in touch. I know a few people were wondering about how we can continue to collaborate and get into and connect. So please do give us an email, and we'll have your details then, and we can share back and forth.
Okay, Maria, do you want to join in there? That's I think we're good to go. So have you any last thoughts from Catalyst Now then?
Yes, also just a reminder that all the sessions are available and will be available in our YouTube channel. To follow us on social media to keep seeing a little bit more about all the different sessions and the post, all the impact that we will be having. And if in case that you want to also share what is the biggest take-home message from this session, you can tag us, and you can tag the young social innovators as well, and we will be happy to repost it and also hear more from you. Again, thank you very much for joining, and we look forward to continue the conversation.